Hello there, my name is Japheth Mast, and welcome to the Make Life Awesome podcast. I'm the Ex-Amish photographer with the funny name and the crazy hair, but trust me, there's a whole lot more to me than just that. In this podcast, I really hope to show you my heart more than what's in my head, because that's where all the really beautiful stuff is. I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump in to learning together what it looks like to make life awesome. Welcome to episode 4 of the Make Life Awesome podcast. This is a solo episode, and at the beginning I wasn't exactly sure the direction I would take it, exactly what I would talk about, but man, it turned out really beautiful. I talk about breaking free from shame and my journey of connecting my head to my heart. I talked about my struggles with performing or doing things for love and finding out that I don't need to ever prove that I'm good enough or that I'm worthy of love. I don't ever need to work to prove that. And this all came out of a deeply personal story for me. So everything that I'm saying comes out of a place of personal experience with this. So I hope it impacts you. Let me know what you think of it. Would love to hear your feedback. All right, enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This is take 2 of today's episode, or at least over the first 2 minutes of the episode. I was rambling a bit and decided to stop it and continue. I'm your host, Japheth Mast, and it just sounds really cool to call myself a host. It makes it seem all official and professional. Yes, I am the Ex-Amish photographer with the definitely weird name and awesome hair. And that is me. Hopefully you know a little bit about me by this time. If not, you will get to know me throughout the course of this podcast, I would hope. Or you can Google me, look me up on the social medias, and you will find me. Instagram and or Facebook and or Google is good for that. Today, we are going to talk about something really important, and I promise you will know exactly what it is by the time we get to the end of this, because currently I sort of know what I'm going to talk about. But let's be honest, who knows what'll come out. And so I'm going to try this. I'm glad you're along for the ride. It will be delightful, I hope. So let's get started. So I'm going to throw it back to high school. So let me just share a little bit of my story for this context that will help give some definition to what I hope to talk about. So when I was about 14 is when we left the Amish and moved to Kansas City, Missouri. Spent parts of 2 years there. And when I was 15-ish, we moved out to Northern California in Redding. And I went to high school. So sophomore year, high school. You should have seen me. Oh man, if you could see my student ID picture for sophomore year of high school, you would react, and it would be funny or painful, mostly funny. I had long hair, kind of Justin Bieber-esque. The day when they took the photos, my hair was super fluffy and poofy. It was all over, and it did not look very good. Maybe I will get to show you this. Maybe I'll put that picture on the website with the show notes for this episode, and you'll get to enjoy that. But I'm going to try to paint a portrait of Japheth at 15, 16 years old, sophomore year of high school, Enterprise High School, Redding, California. So I'm about 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. Awkward, long blonde hair. I come into school about 3 weeks late. Never been to public school in my life. Growing up, most of the people I knew were cousins or people I was somehow directly related to. That was kind of my worldview. Never traveled much at all. Couple short road trips here and there throughout the U.S. But so you can just imagine that my perspective on life was very narrow and not that great. So here I am, socially terrified, just terrified of people, terrified of trying to make friends, terrified of being in a new city with new people, new faces that I didn't know. So just terrified, but trying to hide it, trying to look like I know what I'm doing, trying to look cool, hip, etc. Even though like the way I dressed was was awful. It was bad. I'm thankful for where I am today because I wore some frightening outfits and things that were just 20 years behind, which kind of paints a picture of a lot of my life. The Amish, they're behind in a lot of what they do. In general, not always, not every situation. So I feel like a lot of my life has been catching up to this world that I know now. And it's been pretty cool. It's been hard, interesting. It's been a unique journey. Anyways, back to sophomore year. So I was terrified. I didn't talk to anyone in public unless I was asked, unless I was spoken to. But I was really smart. In high school, it was just way too easy for me. So I was really smart. And that's kind of how I got by. People wanted to be my friend because I was smart, and they would cheat off of me for like tests or homework. And I think I usually let them. Can't quite remember. Thankfully, I had about two or three people that I kind of surrounded myself with, or they surrounded me, and we would eat lunch together. But that's about the extent of my social abilities at that age. And so that was about 7 years ago. Yep, almost 7 years ago, coming up. If you would have seen me then and you'd see me today, you wouldn't recognize me at all. I am very, very, very different. And so I think I want to talk a little bit about that journey and what happened in those 7 years that transformed my life and transformed me into someone that is so much different. Someone that is outgoing, confident, very good with people, secure in who he is, secure in his identity, likes himself, and loves himself. So the last 3 years of high school were really hard years for me. Didn't make many friends at all. So somewhere in that time period, I turned to developing skills and talents that would somehow give me a reason to be someone's friend, to be loved, to be valued, to make people want to spend time with me. So I started reading a ton of books, just started engulfing myself in this new world of kind of business and self-help. Read a ton of books. 1 year, I think I read about 40 books. That was awesome. Listened to hundreds and hundreds of podcasts and basically did whatever I could whenever I wasn't in school or working. I would spend my time just learning and growing. And honestly, a lot of that was driven by pain and loneliness, which obviously not the right motive to go after growth. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. But it worked, and I'm thankful for it. I don't think I'd change it if I could go back. Because who I am today is a part of that journey, even though it was driven by pain and by lack and isolation. It turned out for the better. And so I'm very thankful for that. So here I am filling my mind, my soul with all this knowledge, this information, and it's really good. But inside, I'm just terrified. I'm lonely. I'm scared. I'm not confident at all. I don't believe that I have a voice, that my voice matters, that I'm worthy of being friends with, that I'm worthy of being in relationship with. And so I started going on this journey of discovering who I am, identity. So about 2 years ago is where a lot of this happened. Actually, maybe 2 to 3 years ago. So there's this podcast called The Liberation Project, which is amazing, with Justin Stumble and Blair Reynolds. Check it out. It's an incredible podcast geared at having a conversation about what healthy masculinity and what powerful people, what that looks like. So listen to that. I went to a conference that those guys did that was awesome. Started connecting with my heart. Because in the middle of this, because of all this pain I had disconnected from my heart. I had shut it down. I had locked it in the trunk. I had taken away its voice. I told it, I don't like you. You're not good enough. Shut up. You don't have a voice. I'm gonna let my brain, my mind, my head run my life from here on out. Because when I let you feel things, that hurts. I get hurt. People hurt me. So I'm going to withdraw from you, and I'm going to withdraw from people. But when I started to stop that, when I started to get into relationships where I was vulnerable and I was open and I allowed people to give feedback into my life, things started shifting just like that. And the love that people gave to me transformed me. And because love will change you, it will transform you from the inside out. It will do things that you could never do with your head, with your mind. So I started connecting my head to my heart slowly over time, bits and pieces. I had so much shame about who I was. It's ridiculous. I was just wrapped in these layers of shame. Layers of shame about who I was. You're not good enough. You'll never be lovable. You're a terrible friend. You suck. All these deep, cutting lies. And I also had shame about where I came from. I had shame about growing up Amish, which is crazy. I didn't know that you could have that shame. But a couple years ago, a mentor kind of pulled that out of me. Hey, like, you have a lot of shame about where you come from. And because you can't disconnect where you came from and who you are, if you have shame about where you come from, you'll always have this shame about who you are. So I've learned to accept and to love and to embrace my past, where I came from, my heritage, and it's super awesome, super thankful for that, super healing. So this journey the past couple of years, I've gotten so much healing, and it's coming through love and through truth, through people telling me, like, hey, you're awesome, I love you, I believe in you, you're worth it, you're worth investing in. And eventually I started to believe those things. It's crazy. It didn't happen overnight. Definitely not overnight. It was a process. It was a couple of years of hard work, of digging deep and going after every insecurity, everything that felt scary to me. I ran after it. Not always as soon as it popped up, not always as soon as I saw it. But eventually, at one time or another, I was like, hey, I gotta face this thing inside of me that's keeping me trapped, and it's bringing shame into my life, and just that freaking sucks. So I'm gonna do something about it. And I think running to people is one of the healthiest things we can ever do. When we're in pain, when we're feeling shame, when we're just feeling sucky, we need to run to people. And so I'm going to bring in the Enneagram a little bit. And the Enneagram, like, it's a personality typing system. And a lot of people have a negative lens towards personality tests because of how it's been abused. But every time we react to an error, we create another error. And it's the same with the Enneagram. It's helpful if you let it be. It's been really incredible for me, learning a lot about myself. So I'm an Enneagram 3, the number 3, the type 3. The 3 is what's called the achiever, or the performer. Loves to do stuff, is really good at creating value and making the world a better place. But then they also can fall into a trap of getting their identity, their like sense of self-worth from what they do. And that's something I struggled with for a long time. I would try to do things, to do the right things, do enough work, do enough cool projects, write enough cool blogs to get noticed by people, to get affirmation, to get that like, I love you, like, hey, you're awesome, that I never got when I was younger. When I was a kid, I didn't get a lot of words of affirmation, is what I'd call them. I didn't get, like, hey, Japheth, like, thanks for what you did, or like, hey, I love you for who you are. Because I noticed a pattern that whenever I would do something awesome, I would get complimented. I would get what looked like affirmation. But really, it was from an unhealthy place that I was receiving that. And actually, one thing about the Enneagram that has been so healing to me is the song by Sleeping at Last, the artist Sleeping at Last, called 3. He did a podcast and a song for each of the 9 types of the Enneagram, and it is so beautiful. Recently, I've learned how to play the song 3 on the keys, and it's been so healing for me just listening to it over and over again. Because one of the lyrics out of that is, maybe I've done enough. That's just keeps piercing me over and over. Like, maybe you've done enough. Like Japheth, maybe you're good enough just for who you are, apart from anything you've ever done or anything you ever will do. Like, you're good enough. Who you are, your heart is good, and you don't need to prove it to anyone or anything. I was actually talking to my heart the other night. I was journaling, which I love, and I told my heart, you don't ever have to prove it. You don't ever have to prove that you're worthy of love. You can just be, and that's enough. You don't have to strive. You don't have to try to be good enough, because who you are, who you were created to be, is inherently good. You are good enough. And the more I hear those words, the deeper they sink into my heart, the deeper I get transformed by that love. And let me tell you guys, there's nothing better than being able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I really like you, and to know that you mean it with every fiber of your being. And that's really one of the things I hope to give to the world. This thing of, hey, like, it's okay to love yourself. Actually, it's necessary to love yourself and to like yourself. And it's not prideful. It's not conceited. It's not arrogant. It's actually so necessary. And the world needs you. And they need you to believe that. Because if you don't believe that truth, that you are lovable, that you're good enough, that you're awesome the way you are, then it's actually impossible for you to change the world the way that you were called to when you were born. There's something inherently unique and valuable in every single person. If you're listening to this, there's something uniquely valuable and beautiful inside of you that no one else in the world has. And if you choose to hate that part of you, if you choose to hate yourself, then you're actually robbing the world of beauty and of a peace that it needs in order to become a better place. It's such a beautiful journey to go on. And so, if you're listening, I hope you'll choose to say yes to that journey of finding out what it means to love yourself, to really love yourself. Like I said, to be able to look into the mirror and tell yourself those 3 words, those 4 words, I really like you, I love you. I hope you choose to say yes to that, because the world will become a better place once you do that. And do we get it perfect? Heck no. A lot of times we mess up. A lot of times we don't do it right. A lot of the times we do dumb stuff, and we know it, but that's okay. And so to wrap this up, I just want to say that it is absolutely okay for you to be awesome, and actually that we need you to be awesome. And whatever voices have told you your whole life that you need to be small, that you need to be quieter, that you need to shrink back because that's arrogant or cocky, just know that those are lies. Those have always been lies. And if you need permission to choose to go on this journey, here's your permission that you've been waiting for. Do it. Go for it. Start today. Why not today? In a year from now, you'll look back on the day and you'll regret not starting right now when you can. The best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is today. So hey, go ahead, plant that oak tree, and promise you will not regret it. So, thanks for joining in, guys. Hope that all made sense, my little ramblings there. Appreciate you tuning in. Have an awesome week. Keep crushing it, and be kind to your heart. Be kind to your heart this week. That's your homework. Alright, I'm peacing out. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the podcast today. I would love if you would leave me a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting platform, as it really does help the show out. You can find me on Instagram at Japheth Mast, that's spelled Japhethmast, or my website, japhethmast.com. Have an amazing week, and don't forget, make life awesome.